I followed every rule in the grown-up playbook. I got a degree. I got a great job. I tried climbing the corporate ladder. So why was I struggling financially? Here's what really happened. I had been brainwashed into thinking that more money would solve my money problems, but it didn't. Check this out. I went from here to here. And why? Because I stopped a bunch of habits that I thought were grown up and that I thought I should be doing when I started work, only to realize that they were burning up my cash. In this video, I'm going to share with you the mistakes that I made that almost derailed my journey to financial freedom. And now, after more than 25 years of building my wealth and mentoring hundreds of other people, I'm on a mission to share those and other hard-earned lessons to help you bridge the wealth gap. Growing up, we all couldn't wait to taste the freedom of adulthood. Dreams of independence, financial freedom, and the cool things we'd buy with our first pay. Then reality hits, and it hits hard. Suddenly, it's not just about saving up for the latest tech or fashion. It's about managing bills and debt, and yes, those unexpected expenses that always pop up at the worst time. And here's the truth. Most people think that joining the workforce means spending like a grown-up. Marketers know that. The spin is about trying to entice us to spend our hard-earned money with them because that's what adults do. I call bullshit. Schools and universities have failed us. They haven't prepared us for this life, living as a grown-up in the slightest, and a huge percentage of young adults are openly anxious about money. So let's get into 3 grown-up behaviors that are burning up your money. So number 1, saving and investing what's left over. Now, when I started work, I had the idea I was going to spend as little as possible and save everything else left over at the end of the month. Now, this created 2 problems for me. Number 1, I felt guilty about going out and having a good time. And number 2, there would inevitably be some huge blowout during the month that would put a big dent in my cash. Bottom line, there was rarely any money left to save. Now, this is known as Parkinson's law. It says that spending any resource will always expand to consume all available resources. For example, if you have a project with a 1-month deadline, you will generally use the full month. If you've got the same project with a 1-week deadline, you might get it done because you're more efficient. Maybe you could even get it done if you were only given a day. The same is true of money. We think earning more money will solve our problems, but it rarely does. Parkinson's law kicks in. Lifestyle creep happens so gradually. Even when you earn more money, it just evaporates. It took me 7 years and dozens of books on money management to refine the system I use today. But it's really simple. Before I start paying any bills or spending any money, I put aside money for my future self to invest or save. Then I carve up the rest between paying bills and my day-to-day spending. And I've seen over many years that this is exactly what the ultra wealthy do. They prioritize making themselves wealthier versus making other people rich. Think of saving money first as caring about your future self. It's the habit that matters more than the percentage. So start slow and then ramp it up as you get more confident. So number 2 is copycat spending. Now the song says, I should grow up someday because I've got bills to pay. I know I drink too much, can't pay my rent this month. I should be saving up, but I just got paid. I'm broke, but I'm ballin'. You know the song? Look, when I first got into the workforce, I really felt like I needed to fit in. I said yes to everything. If someone asked me out for a drink, I said yes. If someone said, want to go on a weekend away, I said yes. Yes to everything. So it was no surprise that even as my pay went up, I still felt completely broke. Now our friends can mean a lot to us, and sometimes we think that to maintain a relationship and to be seen as fitting in, we need to spend in the same way. Credit.com did a study of 18 to 24-year-olds, and 55% felt influenced by their peers to overspend. Now, choosing to become careful about your spending shouldn't cost you your friendships. I knew I was never going to get ahead if I maintained the spending habits that some of my friends had. So I learned to strike a balance. I said no to the things that I didn't really care about, and I splurged when I really wanted to. Now, the 2 big money pits where copycat spending can cripple us are number 1, eating out and booze. Now, Gen Zs and millennials spend more money on eating out than any other generation. The restaurant industry are not dumb. They have not only fed this trend, but they've capitalized on it. The price of food has completely outpaced inflation, which means this is forcing those that don't want to prep a meal or eat at home to spend a bigger percentage of their income. And of course, all of that is fed by social media, which worships at the altar of an outward display of a successful life. People photograph their food, they take selfies at the latest bars and restaurants. And I know firsthand it's too easy when you go out to not spend. It's not uncommon for one drink to hit $20 per drink. One more drink here, one more drink there, saying yes to dinner with our mates, and then suddenly our bank account is dry. If we can just stop and pause before we whip out that card or phone, or think twice before accepting every invitation to eat or drink out, and remind ourselves that eating and drinking out is not essential to being a grown-up, staying connected to our friends, or being seen as successful, then we'll be one step ahead. The second pit is spending too much on rent. Now, in the past, people's expectations of where they would live were way more modest. Families of 4 to 6 would actually share a 2-bedroom house with 1 bathroom. But these days, everyone expects that standard isn't good enough for 2 people sharing. We want more space, we want more bathrooms, we want more rooms. We like properties that are newer with more modern finishes, with proximity to things that we like doing. Having a dream home when you first get into the workforce is draining the bank account faster than in the past. But it's a chicken and egg scenario. You can't afford to buy your first home, so you figure, might as well enjoy a good life. But then living a good life means you can't save or invest in your future self. Thinking about where you live, of course, is important. But if this is one of your biggest ticket items in your spending, it pays to ask yourself, what can I live with? Once or twice in my 20s, I rented in some complete holes. In one share house, the room wasn't even wide enough to hold a single mattress, so I slept with it curled up the walls. Now, that's probably a bit extreme, but the lesson is that short-term compromise of paying less rent can massively increase your ability to save and get yourself off the rental ladder altogether. If money matters to you, give up the people or situations where there is pressure to spend lavishly and stop caring what everybody else thinks about you. Learn to say no thanks and can't make it. Finally, number 3, avoid credit like the plague. Now, the first thing I wanted when I first started work was to get a credit card. I wanted it, but no one would give me one. Finally, when I got one, then people were throwing them at me. When I did have one, it was always maxed out and it was just too damn tempting. You know, it was there and it was free money, but I was always playing catch up, live off my credit card and then struggle to pay it off with my next pay. I was often late and I paid thousands upon thousands in interest and late fees. Truth is, credit is way easier to get today than it was when I started to work. On top of that, you have things like Afterpay and dozens of retail credit providers that will offer you credit at the drop of a hat. If you have a pulse, they'll say yes. But miss one payment and boom, they slug you with instant double-digit interest and charges, no remorse. Now, the sad news is that Gen Z credit card debt is outpacing that of other generations, and today millions of people hold credit cards on the pretense of accumulating air miles and points. There are dozens of articles now which discuss the bait and switch nature of frequent flyer points. Free flights are based on scarce and in some instances non-existent seat inventory, and many airlines have been recently devaluing rewards to make them less valuable, and they can revoke them at any time. Bottom line, the big problem with credit is that it's way harder to have a grip on your spending, and if you're just learning to get control over your money, any form of credit is dangerous. Ditching my credit card was the start of a new level of control. Not having one, though, immediately taught me to live within my means, and it hurt. If I didn't have the money around to buy something, I just went without, or I started savings. It taught me the art of patience and delayed gratification. I will never get one again. If you see yourself in any of these money habits, take it easy on yourself. School just doesn't prepare us for the real world, and sometimes parents don't know what to teach us because they have their own money problems. I learned most of my money and wealth lessons the hard way. I don't want that for you. Keep the momentum going by checking out more of my videos for inspiration and lessons on managing your finances. And if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. I'd love to see you back here for more insights.